All right, everyone. Thank you for joining our second breakout session of gCON and the third session here on the first day of gCON. We've got a great presentation for you today about how you can, the importance of backup, of cloud-to-cloud backup in Google Apps. We're joined by Matt Hamlin of Spanning, who I'm going to introduce in just a second. He's got a great presentation for you guys. There's a few things that I did want to mention before we get started, and if you attended the first breakout session, you're probably already familiar with it, but I just want to mention it really quickly. We are giving away a ton of free stuff during this session, so some really awesome giveaways. We're giving away an Xbox One courtesy of Spanning, and we're also giving away a Samsung Chromebook 2, so two awesome giveaways that we're really excited about. So if you're interested in going into the running for one of those, as well as claiming a free gCON t-shirt, please stick around until the end of the presentation. There'll be a short form that you can fill out, and then we'll put you into the running for the giveaways and then get your information for the t-shirt. So with that being said, and one other thing as well, we're going to do questions outside of the Hangout again, so if you have any questions afterwards, Matt's going to stick around in the gCON Google Plus community to answer some of your questions. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Matt Hamlin. Like I said, he's the Director of Product at Spanning. So you want to take it away, Matt?
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. And thanks for everybody for taking the time today to learn a little bit more about data protection and Spanning. As he mentioned, there's definitely some giveaways as part of this program, and we're happy to contribute to the Google community. So yeah, as he said, if you fill that registration form at the end, we'll make those available to you and get you entered in that drawing. Share my presentation here. Okay, great. So yeah, again, I'm Matt Hamlin, Director of Products here at Spanning Cloud Apps. We're based in Austin, Texas.
Hey, Matt, 1 second. It looks like we can't see your screen right here. Are you sharing the browser, or are you sharing your desktop?
It's a browser.
Okay, can you switch over to the desktop?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Perfect. Thanks, Matt.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Great. So yeah, again, I'm Matt Hamlin, Director of Products here at Spanning Cloud Apps. We focus on data protection for SaaS applications. Obviously, for Google Apps is one of our primary products. Today, I'm going to talk about protecting that Google Apps data in the cloud with our cloud-to-cloud backup offering. As we mentioned before, if you complete that form at the end of the session today, you'll get entered in that drawing for the Xbox One. I'm actually a little jealous I can't enter that myself. Good price. And so just a little bit about us. Spanning Cloud Apps, again, we're based in Austin, Texas. We were founded in 2010, and our primary focus is providing enterprise-class backup and recovery solutions to prevent business interruption due to data loss in Google Apps. Our goal is to enable our customers to recover from any data loss for any reason, and we'll talk about a number of reasons that can occur, and continue their business operations, making sure they can continue to sell, continue to operate themselves. As you can see, we've got a broad set of customers around the world, both in many verticals: technology, education, and again on 6 of the 7 continents around the planet. All right, so for today, we're going to talk a little bit about cloud adoption trends, how different organizations are moving critical applications to SaaS, such as Google Apps. We'll also talk about how Google Apps data is highly susceptible to data loss. Google does a lot to protect your data. There's still ways that it can be lost in your environment. Primarily, they can't protect you from human-caused data loss. Right? You just don't have the context to understand whether actions that are being requested of Google Apps are legitimate or not. So because of that, you have a significant responsibility to your organization and to your partners and to your customers to protect that data, that critical business data in Google Apps. We'll talk a little bit about the different options for data recovery in Google Apps, and the benefits of having something in place to protect you from data loss and to give you ways to very, very quickly and easily recover from any loss that does happen in your environment. Okay, so Forrester did a report last year called Back Up Your Critical Data Before It's Too Late. And one of the statistics cited at the very beginning of that report was that by 2015, the average company will use 66 different SaaS solutions, right? We continue to see the market grow and move their data into cloud applications that are hosted SaaS applications. And when they do so, they remove, they do so for cost savings and collaboration. And in those environments, the data themselves is typically very secure, and the uptime is really, really good. But when you move your data into SaaS applications like that, you still have a responsibility to ensure that it's protected and available to you at all times. So considering SaaS data loss, it's actually very common. There was, Aberdeen reports that 1 in 3 companies using SaaS applications reported that they've lost data. And speaking with our customers and other people in the industry, I actually think that number is a little bit higher, right? Companies who report they lost data, SaaS data, may not encompass all the companies that have. A lot of times, organizations will implement SaaS applications and educate their employees and staff that if data loss occurs, they don't have a great way to get it back. So oftentimes, employees in the organizations won't ask for recovery of data. So even without that statistics, 1 in 3 companies losing data in the cloud is very significant. And when data loss does occur in SaaS applications, 64% of the time it's due to user errors, right? Mistakes that happen throughout the day, accidental deletions. There's 20% lost to malicious intent, so that's either from outside hackers or from internal threats, malicious behavior, destruction of data to cover up things that are going on in the organization, or potentially somebody deleting data as they leave the organization. And the last one there, 7%, is typically due to synchronization errors, right? If you get a new phone, if you get a new laptop, and you're synchronizing data, whether it's Google Drive data, contacts, or calendars, there's definitely opportunity to lose data. If you sync the wrong way and choose the wrong device as the primary source of information, it can overwrite critical data that you've got in the cloud that you meant to keep. And because this data loss is common, is being reported, Rachel Dunn's in that same Forrester report, she said it's time for infrastructure and operations leaders to stop leaving the door open to data loss and start proactively protecting cloud data before it's too late. And her statement's really important there, because what we've seen is that as organizations move to cloud applications, they oftentimes will provide the responsibility for those applications is left to the line of business. Google Apps Administrator in this case, right? If you're moving to a platform like Salesforce.com, a lot of times it's a Salesforce Administrator. And when that occurs, your core IT organization, who is typically responsible for data protection, backup, and recovery, they're somewhat disengaged, right? The reasons that they protect the data in the past is typically for the reasons that you see here on this slide, right? Those last 3 bullets. The IT infrastructure organization typically has protected the data from natural disasters, hardware and software failures, power outages, right? Anything that has to do with data loss due to infrastructure is typically how they're engaged before. And so what we've seen is that as organizations move to SaaS applications, and as you can see on the right side here, all the infrastructure pieces of that platform are taken care of by the provider. Google takes care of everything from hardware all the way up through the application layer. But as an organization, you are still responsible, have a shared responsibility to manage the users that have access to the environment, clearly, but you also have shared responsibility over that data. Google's not going to lose your data due to natural disaster, hardware failure, power outage, software failure, software errors, but you might lose data in those environments for a number of reasons we've talked about, and we'll go over some concrete examples in just a second. So as we mentioned before, Google Apps can't fully protect your data, right? And it is your data. You're responsible for making sure that it's always available when it needs to be accessed by the business. And Google will do with your data what you tell them to do. And this is the key point here. So if anyone in your organization tells Google to delete content out of Google Drive or delete emails, and then they into the recycling bin, that data is gone forever. Right? Google is going to do what you ask them to do. And to that third bullet there, they actually promise to do so. Right? Part of their privacy policy, part of their service agreement with you as Google customers is that they promise to delete data if you ask them to delete data. They promise to edit data in line with if you ask them to edit that data. And so they're contractually obligated to perform those operations. They just don't have any context to understand whether it was intended or unintended. Right? And so the data recovery is focused internally, not externally. Again, if there's reasons that data loss occurs because of Google, which very, very rarely happens, I haven't heard of a case, they would be responsible for recovering that. But data loss caused by you, caused by your organization or your partners or your implementation partners is still your responsibility. So there's another quote here, one from Aaron Feigenbaum, the Director of Security at Google Apps, and he says, if something bad happens to your data,
Hey, Matt, it looks like we may have lost audio there for a second. Can you check and make sure that your microphone is working okay?
over their data.
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
I can.
I think we lost audio there for a second. Would you mind just covering that last bit again?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes. Sorry, we're good.
Okay. Okay, so I was covering the fact that Google Apps can't fully protect your data. The information you do have in Google Apps, they will do what you tell them to do. So if you ask Google to delete data or edit data, if an end user deletes information out of their Gmail account and enters a recycling bin, or if it ages out of the recycling bin, that data is lost forever, right? And so any actions taken by your users or during synchronization processes, if it instructs Google to delete data or edit data, Google promises to carry out those actions, right? The problem is they don't have any context to understand if they were fully intended or not. So if an individual deletes data, empties a recycling bin, and then realize they made a mistake, Google has already committed that action in line with what was requested of them. They actually promised to do so. Part of Google Apps service agreement is they promise to delete data if you ask them to. Right? That's part of compliance policy. And so I wanted to read a quote here from Aaron Feigenbaum, the Director of Security at Google Apps. He says, if something bad happens to your data, ultimately you're still responsible. The number one risk is the end user. And how will you minimize the impact of a breach? And so I think it's very telling that Google Apps themselves is also encouraging customers to protect their data, take on partial responsibility for that. So one of the last reasons here, before I get into some examples of data loss, of why you need to be protecting your data and take on that responsibility is the compliance requires that you do so, right? Many organizations fall under some level of rigor around compliance and audit, especially anyone in the healthcare or financial services industry, insurance, and even in education. And so anytime an organization falls under some regulations for audit, they will have to demonstrate that they have the controls in place to meet the requirements. And so the ISACA group has a framework called COBIT, and this is a quote from COBIT 5. COBIT is an audit controls framework that's typically applied and used for assessments when you're looking at an organization's controls. And in the DSS-04 section around managing business continuity, it says that you're responsible for establishing and maintaining a plan to enable the business and IT to respond to incidents and disruptions, right? Any form of data loss, in order to continue operation of critical business processes and require IT services and maintain availability of information at a level acceptable to the enterprise. So that basically is saying you have to have plans in place, processes in place, tested processes in place, that anytime an incident or disruption happens, anytime data loss occurs, you need to be able to recover that to allow the business to continue, and you're measured by how well you are providing that service to the organization itself, to the enterprise. So as a Google Apps admin, you need to make sure that you have processes in place to recover from data loss to the satisfaction of your customers, your organization. And if you do a lot with partners and with customers, their satisfaction, right? And then this control itself is measured by the percent of successful and timely restoration from backup. So this, again, reinforces the need for some best practices around backup of SAS data. Your responsibility for these controls are no different, whether your productivity suite or CRM application is on-prem or in the cloud. And your ability to continue to run a business is paramount, and that's it's being cited here in the COVID framework. All right, so I want to go through a couple of concrete examples of how data loss can occur and has occurred in some environments. So this data loss story is about synchronization error. It's from AMAG Pharmaceuticals. They're a highly regulated organization. They lost an HR folder that didn't sync correctly with Google Drive. So they were using the Google Drive sync tool on a laptop or desktop, and the synchronization didn't quite complete, and something went wrong in that process. So it removed files, and it also removed files that the person didn't own, which is shared with them. They were unable to find it in the trash or the recycling bin in a timely manner. So they were able to restore that folder using spanning backup for Google Apps. So it's a current customer in place of ours, and they had been backing up their data. And so when any data loss occurred because of synchronization error, they were able to quickly come in, find the data that was lost, and put it back in place in just a few clicks. Another great example is the departing employee. So Alzheimer's organization, which is a great organization, right, focused on eliminating Alzheimer's disease and supporting that community and families in that suffering from that affliction. They have about 2,800 employees and volunteers, and they had a employee delete a lot of email, and this person held the most critical information about a major fundraising initiative, right? In this case, they were the point person for this particular fundraising initiative and had the information necessary that was being shared externally, but internally it was a single point of failure. So when they left the organization, they deleted a lot of their data, and with it went some information that should have stayed with Alzheimer's. And so they were able to go back into spanning backup for Google Apps. An administrator could log in, look at the emails that had been in this person's Gmail account, quickly find them, and restore them back into Google Apps. And we actually offer what we call third-party restore, so restore them back into another person's account if necessary, so they can access that information and continue their business. Another great example is the helpful user, right? So we have a customer's a marketing firm based out of London, over 1,000 employees, and they were moving some files around, and a user decided to clean up folders in Google Drive. These folders ended up becoming lost and also deleted from the trash. They did suffer a data loss event. At the time, they had a backup process in place that was collecting the data, but it did not serve them very well when they needed to restore it back into Google Apps. It was able to restore the data, but it restored all the data in one folder. And so this illustrates some of the need of being very, very good at the restore process. In this example, there was 1,000+ files and folders. So they had an entire nested hierarchy of clients. And in those hierarchy of clients, they had standard naming around certain documents and document types. And so when you put all that information into a single folder, it's very, very hard to decipher which files go with which clients and really rebuild that folder structure that was critical for them to rapidly recover from the data loss. So they've since become spanning customers, and we're able to prove to them that if that happens ever again in the future, we're very capable of rapidly returning the data into Google Apps exactly the way it came out, with the file and folder structure in place from any point in time in the past, restoring all the sharing data, metadata, etc. A couple other reasons for data loss I want to cover. The first one here is the Malicious Insider. I obviously don't have a customer example. We don't want to expose any stories about that, but I did want to cover a couple of quotes from some important sources here. So in the IT Control Objectives for Cloud Computing from Osaka, there's a quote that says, the impact of the malicious insider can have on an enterprise is considerable given their levels of access, right? We all talk about breaches and security and making sure we're protected from hackers, but the people inside your organization have rights to use information to do their job every day, right? And so the rights that they have to work with that information also give them rights to change that data or delete that data, and that can be a huge risk. Former FBI cybersecurity chief Tim Ryan said, employees with legitimate access can cause far greater destruction. Copy or email records and then destroy data. Again, you've given rights to your employees to get their job done every day, and you have controls to make sure that they're not, only have access to the data that they need to have access to, and you may have locked it down to where, they may not be able to have complete control to destroy all data, but still, given that they have access, especially things like Google Drive, where they have quite a bit of control over the information that they've created, there is definitely a risk of data destruction due to the insider. And the last one is the hacker, right? This is there's a story about Matt Honan from Wired magazine. I think most of you probably heard it, but he was attacked with a chinning attack, right? They found his credentials for one of his applications online, which changed to another and to another, and he ended up losing his whole digital life, including things like family pictures. They wiped his phone, they wiped his laptop, and his quote is very telling as well. I'm mad for not backing up my data. I'm sad and shocked, and I feel that ultimately I am ultimately to blame for that loss. Right. So if he had backup and recovery in place, the hacking event, them identifying his credentials and destroying his data, wouldn't have been as impactful to his life. We also heard news last week about the dire malware. Right. This new malware out there that its whole goal is to sit on your computer, your laptop, your employees' laptops, and try to find login credentials. If they are identified and found, then someone could come into your employees or your partners' Google Apps environment potentially. Of course, hopefully you have two-factor authentication, things like that set in place. But there is a risk that they could come in and be perceived as Google as an appropriate user. If they have the logins to get in, they can go destroy data, edit data, copy data, and have a breach there. So all of these things can lead to data loss. Okay, and so as far as what we can do to ensure that data is protected in the event of a loss, looking at critical data protection capabilities, we want to make sure that it's something that's automated and easy to use. So set it, forget it, backup. It's important for an administrator to have full transparency and understand what's going on with the backup to ensure that everything is backed up every day. And if it's not, why was it backed up? Is there anything they can do about it? Restore is critical. Restore is critical. Being able to restore data just like it was in Google Apps from any point in time in the past with the metadata, folders, and file sharing is vitally important to letting your business continue to operate as it needs to very quickly. Also, it's important to think about is the end user interface and the intuitiveness of that. Spanning, we focus on the end user because we believe that enabling them to find and recover lost data on their own is the fastest path to business continuity. We've made it simple for an end user to log in, look at their backups from Google Drive, email, contacts, calendars, quickly identify what they've lost, and in just a few clicks put it right back into Google Drive or Google Apps. And part of that process is that it goes back perfectly, right? If you can get data back into Google Apps, just not in the right folder, not in the right format, it's not shared with the right individuals, your end users are still going to call the IT help desk. It's not a complete restore to where they can continue their operations. And lastly, we think that looking at a solution that has unlimited cloud storage capacity is important as well. It's more and more data will be pushed into Google Apps and Google Drive. Obviously, they've raised the limits on what you can put in. More and more organizations are sharing with externally with other organizations, and so if you're going to back up all of your data, that data is going to grow and grow. Spanning also backs up data shared with an organization. So anytime an external entity or customer is sharing data with you, that's also included. So not having to worry about how much data is being backed up in your solution is important. Just focusing on how many users you have that need to be backed up is easier. Okay, so Spanning, we have Spanning Backup for Google Apps. It is enterprise-grade daily automated backup and recovery for Gmail, Drive, calendars, contacts, and sites. It does provide automated nightly backups, but also offers on-demand backups. We have very granular recovery and restore, allowing an end user or an administrator to find an individual file, an individual email from any point in time and put that directly back into Google Apps. We have some nice administrative capabilities, allowing you to control who has access to certain functions in the product. And then we provide complete status monitoring, which is very important so for the administrators to understand what is being backed up, when it is being backed up, the completeness of that, because we don't want anyone to come to our product at any point in time to do a restore and the data not be available to them, not be aware that there was an issue and potentially data wasn't backed up properly. It also gives full visibility into the restore processes, who's restoring data for whom, and who's exporting data. All of that is categorized and displayed to the administrator. We have over 300,000 Google Apps accounts across the world, and it's across 3,900 plus domains. Inside of our service, we're protecting billions and billions of documents and emails for our clients. Another things that are very important to us, you've heard talk a lot about restore. We recently launched a 100% restore guarantee. If we can back up the data, and we'll tell you whether we can or not, we can restore it, and we guarantee that. If we can't back it up, we will tell you through our industry-leading status reporting. There are some things in Google Apps that are just not able to be backed up by anyone. Password-protected PDFs, forms and scripts, certain things aren't available to anyone through the Google APIs, and so we raise those up to you, to the administrator, so you know what's backed up and what's not. And so for any time we fail to restore data effectively and appropriately, we will give you back 10 times your money for each affected user account. Right? So if you have a user perform a restore and it fails, we'll give you 10 times your money back for that individual user. All right, so let's take a look. I've just got a couple screenshots. I want to show a little bit of the user interface here. For administrators, we provide complete visibility into the backups themselves. This is our status page, where you can see every point in time backup and complete status monitoring of those. On this page, as you can see across the top, it shows you the status of reporting for the backups for the entire domain. Below that, you can see each individual user and how the backup performed for that day. Right here on the top, you can see where it says filters, attention needed, temporary errors, and cannot back up. We also let you filter this screen to make sure the administrators are only paying attention to and reacting to the things that are vitally important. They can also go in and view to see what's going on if they want some additional information. So things like attention needed will be areas where we find corrupt data that we can't back up from Google Apps. We'll raise that to the administrator. It could be things like communications errors or problems with grants. Temporary errors are occasionally communications errors that typically fix themselves the next day, so you can click that and include those here in the status reporting. And the last one there, cannot back up. That's where you can see all the files across your whole organization that is in Google Apps that we're just unable to back up. No one is able to back up. And again, we have some customers that highly leverage forms and scripts and believe that's a thing that they would like to have backed up. We want to make sure that they understand that we can't do that and no one else can either. And then for the end user, again, we try to make it very, very simple and easy for them to find and restore their own data. This is a view into our drive restore. So when an end user logs in, they click on restore and go to the drive tab. They can see the full folder structure here. They can select a folder from any point in time backup, whether that's yesterday, a week ago, or a month ago. We will automatically push back all that information into their Google Drive account with the nested folders and subfolders, permissions, rights, etc. Okay. All right. So hopefully this was beneficial for you today. I highly encourage you to go out and take a look at the product. We do have a 14-day full functional free trial. We are in the Google Apps Marketplace, where you can go to spending.com/free trial to get more information about that. We also have a number of free tools that are available in the marketplace as well. So we have these are all free tools forever. Undelete for Google Calendar, letting you find and restore calendar events that have been lost in the last 30 days. Stats for Google Drive, which will kind of elaborate on across your organization, what kinds of files are there, and information about that and about who has the most data. Then we have an admin autolog viewer and a mobile admin autolog viewer where we push information out to administrators about what's going on in their environment and to keep them informed. All right, well, that's all I have. Andrew, did you want to talk about the registration form and the giveaway?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt. That was a great presentation. Matt alluded to a couple things during his presentation. First of all, the 14-day free trial for spanning backup for Google Apps. You can find a link to that on the right-hand side of your screen in the Showcase app. And then we are running out of time, so I want to quickly get into our giveaways for today. So you should shortly see the form to enter the giveaway contest and claim your free T-shirt in the right-hand side of your screen in the Showcase app as well. So please fill out that form if you want to win the Xbox One and the Samsung Chromebook 2. We have some awesome giveaways. Definitely thank you to Spanning for providing the Xbox One. And I think with that, that pretty much covers everything for today. Once again, thanks a lot, Matt, for the great presentation. Definitely learned a lot about cloud-to-cloud backup and Google Apps.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And I'll be over in the Q&A answering any questions you may have for the next little bit.
That's right. So if you have any questions for Matt specifically about his session or just cloud-to-cloud backup in general, you feel free to go to the gCON Google Plus community and ask Matt some questions. He'll be there for the next few minutes. So with that, I want to make sure that everybody is aware of the sessions that we have tomorrow. So we have 3 more sessions again tomorrow that you should see in the right-hand side of your screen to register. So we have a keynote presentation from Shrey Luthra from the Google Apps for Work team at Google. So he's a product strategist, and he's got a great presentation for you guys about enabling mobile workers, project collaboration, and sharing data in Google Drive. So that's a great presentation if you're interested in learning more about the product from somebody that actually has a hand in shaping it. That's a great presentation to check out. And we also have 2 more awesome breakout sessions for you guys using Google Drive in the enterprise with AO Docs and project management with Smartsheet. So those are at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, just like today. So look forward to seeing you all there tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by today, and we'll see you tomorrow.